Welcome to brand new episode of Frankly Speaking. Imagine a life dedicated to spreading love, compassion and Krishna consciousness across the globe in different countries. What drives a 19-year-old to leave everything behind and follow a spiritual calling? Join us for a soul-stirring conversation with His Grace Tattva Darshan Prabhu, a pre-77 disciple of Srila Prabhupada, as he shares his remarkable journey of faith, service and devotion to Srila Prabhupada. From Miami to Mayapur, Germany to India, Tattva Darshan Prabhu's life has been a testament to the power of spiritual conviction. He'll take us through his experience from book distribution to village development, Padayatra to organic farming, and share the lessons he learned of devotion and service. At 72, his enthusiasm for Krishna consciousness remains unwavering with a life spanning decades of dedicated service. He'll share his struggles, triumphs, and insights and reveal how Srila Prabhupada's teachings have shaped his life and mission. Get ready to be inspired by his story and discover the secrets of life, of a purpose and devotion. And let me know in the comment section what aspect of his life lessons and Srila Prabhupada's teaching has touched you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to brand new episode of Frankly Speaking. Today we have an extremely special guest. He's in Srila Prabhupada's service since more than 5 decades. His Grace Tattva Darshan Prabhu. Tattva Darshan Prabhu, welcome to Frankly Speaking.
Well, I thank you for allowing me to be here, and I'm not very special.
You are special because you met Prabhupada.
We're all special
disciple
because of Prabhupada.
Yes.
Yes. Sometimes we cite Srila Prabhupada's greatness, hoping that that will also make us great. But actually, we're very insignificant.
So, Prabhu, how was your childhood? You were born into a Christian family.
My childhood, yes. I was born into an ad hoc Christian family. We are from a Greek heritage.
Mm-hmm.
So I often try to sometimes think maybe we go way back to the time when Parashuram drove us out of India and we became Greeks.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and father were Greek. My mother had a small bit of German in her. Anyways, so we were brought up without any real tradition.
Mm-hmm.
My father, we were never really sure what he was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The Greeks and the Italians are very close in Chicago, where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And the Italians have a very prominent influence there. Many of my father's friends were Italians, and they used to call him Jimmy the Greek.
Jimmy the Greek.
Yeah. And we would meet in these Italian restaurants, and these Italians would come in these big black cars to our house on the north side of Chicago. So we knew that he was connected with those kind of people from the Mafia.
Oh.
But we weren't really sure. We didn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
On the front, he started pumping gas, and then he owned that gas station, and he bought 3 more gas stations, and he added garages to them, and he did all these things, and he bought houses in the suburbs and houses up in upstate Wisconsin on the lakes and things. So it was, he was kind of prominent.
Mm-hmm.
We never really knew. And then, of course, there was a divorce when we were 12 from my mother.
How many siblings?
We were two brothers and 2 sisters. And so there were in-laws from both sides. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather, he was quite a well-known figure in Chicago. That was at the time in the early 1950s, 60s, when Chicago was just developing. And there was a famous comedian and a singer and a comedian. His name was Jimmy Durante. Mm-hmm. And he would come every day to the south side of the ports of Lake Michigan. And my grandfather had these fruit stands there. He was the first one to bring in through the boats the bananas and things and different fruits into Chicago in the early, in the 50s and the 60s, right? So Jimmy Durante would come on his walk with other celebrities and movie stars and things, and they'd always go because that was the only bananas, and bananas were a big thing. So sometimes the banana boats didn't come in. So Jimmy Durante would ask my grandfather. I was there one day when he came. It's just a young lass. He said, "Do you have any bananas?" So my grandfather replied, "Yes, we have no bananas." So it became a very famous song. Yes, we have no bananas. Yes, we have no bananas today. And this way there was some fame, and the newspaper reporters started coming and asking questions and things like that. Then on the other side of the family, the grandfather was a real mudha. He used to go down to the Chicago stockyards, which were famous for killing the cows, to get his glass of blood every day.
Oh, Krishna.
So I stayed away from that side of the family. Anyway, so the family started becoming upset.
So even those days you were a little sattvic in nature.
I became a vegetarian at the age of 12.
What made you turn into vegetarian?
Well, I was started to follow this guru Baba Ram Das. He had a famous book, Be Here Now. And it was already in my blood. My parents would try to feed me meat. And I would take it and put it under the table and give it to the dog and do these things. So because the household was not very congenial, and I didn't like this ideals of this thing, so I started running away from home when I was 12 years old.
You ran away from home at the age of 12?
At the age of 12, I jumped in a freight train and I went from Chicago to Florida. And it was a freight train that had coal inside, so I was all black. And I got in and I met some people, and then of course they caught me, they brought me back. So there was a series of these things. And my mother and father got divorced. So
you running away from home was a regular affair?
Yeah, it was regular, and regularly they caught you. And at that time it was illegal. They would put you in a boys' school or something for a little while, then they take you out. It was illegal to run away from home. And it was illegal to play truant from school, to not go to school. So I thought school was a waste of time because they weren't teaching me anything I wanted to know in life. Right?
What you wanted to know in life at that point of time?
I was actually wondering, what is life? Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And I had got this from Baba Ram Das. And even by the age of 13, 14, I had gotten the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
This was in the year?
Not from Srila Prabhupada at that time, right?
What year was this?
And, 53, 63, 73. It was in the late 60s.
Late 60s.
Beginning 70s when I was doing that. So they would put you in the boys' school if you ran away from, or you didn't go to school. But what I would do, the educational system was set up in such a way, it was always being brought back to the house. That was my mother's side. My father's side went a little distant at that time. The education system was that 1/3 of your grade was your homework, 1/3 of your grade was your class attendance, and 1/3 of your grade was your scoring on the test. There were four semesters. So what I would do, I would read all the textbooks, a few days before the test, and I'd go in and I'd take the test and I'd get an A+.
Wow.
And I would fail the homework. And I wouldn't go to class, so I was failing the class. But that was enough to pass. So like this, I kept passing, right? In the school. And I got mixed up with the hippie movement, because they were very prominent at the time, and my friends and things. So we started traveling around to hippie communes, and even at the young age of 16 and stuff, festivals like Woodstock and these things, we were attending them and going around, and we would get in. There was this rock and roll groups like the Grateful Dead that had a magic bus we would jump inside the bus and we would go around. We go to Indian reservations. A lot of this I did on my own. A lot I did with some other acquaintances. We go live with the Indians for a month.
Mhm.
And then the police would catch me and bring me back and put me back in home and put me back in school again. So at one point, so this went on like that. They even put me in a boys' school. And I said, this place isn't for me. So I escaped into the Florida swamps. They came after me with horses and jet and airboats, but they couldn't find me. I got away.
Mhm. You ran away from home, you ran away from
so
school.
many times, so many times. It was a scenario. So then I thought, well, maybe this is wrong. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe I should be doing like my parents. Maybe I should be making money and maybe I should be having a job and things like this. So I got a high school equivalency diploma. My stepfather, he was a interior decorator.
Mhm.
He had a whole business in Boca Raton, Florida, next to Palm Beach, where all the rich people live. So he told me, "You become my partner
Mhm.
in this, and you can go to houses and you can design and you can do things." And I didn't have any formal education in it or anything. And beside that, from the other side of the family, I had started a landscaping business. And both of them were instantly a success. So they put me as an assistant manager and then the manager of a furniture company that delivers furniture up and down the coast of Florida. Even where our Trump lives now, that used to belong to Emily Post of Post Cereals, that Largo estate. So she had me there 2 days doing Post Cereals, Emily Post. She was an old lady. And Robert F. Kennedy's house, which was
Whoa.
John Kennedy's house at the time, we did one room interior decoration and things. I didn't know what it was all about. I was doing it and it started making a lot of money.
Mhm.
Landscaping business. And because of my connections, I had an illegal business too of selling marijuana to our friends. And I was doing quite good, all within like a year and a half. And, I didn't cut my hair, was down to here. I didn't cut it. I put it under a hat and I went like that. And so life was going on. I was thinking like this, but we still had these spiritual inclinations. And one day I went down to the park, Biscayne Park. And Allen Ginsberg was down there.
It's in Florida.
In Florida,
Mhm.
in Miami.
Mhm.
Allen Ginsberg was there playing the harmonium.
Mahajana of hippies.
And he was chanting Hare Krishna on the harmonium. And it was a protest against the legalization of marijuana. So there were big spreads of marijuana around. And meanwhile, I had these businesses and everything. So I sat down next to Allen Ginsberg. I started chanting, and he said, "Oh, so you know the mantra, right?" And he says, "And you know Prabhupada?" And I says, "Well, I know Prabhupada because I've got a Bhagavad Gita, but I don't know Prabhupada."
When did you get the Gita?
Hmm?
When did you get the Gita?
At first I got a Back to Godhead magazine from a girl distributing on the streets in Coconut Grove. And I took it and I threw it on my waterbed and it went out and it plashed and I didn't read much of it. Right? And so I first got a Back to Godhead, and then I'll tell you how I got the first Gita where I started to understand. And I started hearing about Krishna consciousness, but I didn't know much. So Allen Ginsberg, he asked me, "You know Prabhupada?" And I said, "I know his book." He said, "He's your guru." He told me that. He's your guru. And I didn't really know who was Prabhupada. So that snapped. I think I was 18 at the time. Meanwhile, we're doing all these other things, and these businesses are going on. And then I thought, what is life? What does it really is? And I took a look at houses, boats, motorcycles, Studebaker cars, living on the intercoastal waterway with all my friends who I had employed in my businesses. And one day I said, this isn't for me.
All this at the age of 18.
18, yeah. And only for a year. Other times, just all this other stuff. It could have gone on. It could have gone on. It could have gone to some dimension. I don't know what. So then I thought, well, I got to find out what life is. So I had just become the manager of this furniture warehouse. And I had a big bunch of keys, I remember, and we had 3 warehouses and trucks and all this stuff. And landscaping business, I gave to my brother the trucks and the equipment and everything. Not trucks. And I said, well, I'm going to find out what the absolute truth is. I'm going to go search. So there was at that time a person who was supposed to be very high in understanding things. His name was Carlos Castaneda. He wrote some very famous books, and he was down in the Yucatan in Mexico. So I decided, let me go down there and find this guy and see if he really knows what is life and what's going on. I went down to Mexico. He didn't exist. So when I was coming back, by this time I had Bhagavad Gita. I got it from one of my Vartma production friends. He was that was with my third business. His name was Michael Antonelli. He was an Italian. He was very connected, and still his brother and him, and they're connected with the Philadelphia temple to this day. But they used to take things up and down the coast that came in on the boats in Miami and bring them up to Philadelphia and New York and stuff. They has me to drive a few cars once, right? And to meet some boats and things. So
he gave you the Gita.
I got the Gita from him under very funny circumstances, okay? And this was just before I stopped all my, money making and all this stuff. So he gave me the Gita. Actually, I got the Gita, the first Gita that I was able to understand Prabhupada and Bhagavad Gita from, beside reading a few nitpicks here and there, seeing a couple Harinam Sankirtans, was when I was just turning 18 and just getting ready to get into these businesses. So for some reason, because a girl I knew, she asked me to buy some groceries for everything so we're vegetarians too. So she gave me a check and I gave it for the groceries. And that check wasn't hers. And I put my signature on it, my driver's license and everything. So they gave me 6 months in a county stockade because I had a record of being truant and running away from home. I was a criminal.
Already.
Wasn't
You're
really a
caught
criminal.
again, once again.
So they put me in. And when I walked into this stockade, first thing I saw was the Bhagavad Gita on a desk. Everybody was out doing their work. And I saw the Gita. So I walked over and immediately, oh yeah, I know that Gita, but I didn't have one. I hadn't read it. So I picked it up and I said to this book, and I looked at Prabhupada's picture in there. And I said, oh, this is Allen Ginsberg told me about him, right? I says, if this book can answer me my question, then I will take this book as my Bible. And my question is, what is time? What is time? And I opened the book. Page 428 in the original Macmillan Gita describes the calculation of time. The yugas and the durations and everything. I says, wow, this is it? And then this man comes in off the work crew. He says, Hare Krishna. He says, so you know Prabhupada? And I said, yeah, I know him. So his name was Michael Antonelli. And he engaged me in some work. And I got out, instead of going to my friends and my family and everything, I went to him. And the first day I was in his house, Vishnu John Swami pulled in on the Radha Damodar bus.
Wow.
Right?
That's
in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So
you actually moved into the temple with Vishnu John Swami?
No. This was Michael Antonelli's house.
Okay.
This was a house in Fort Lauderdale where they used to get the stuff off the boats and bring it up to New York and Philly and stuff like that, right? So all this was going on at once, Krishna's arrangement. And then I knew Bhagavad Gita. I'd gotten it. But I had never really lived in Vishnu John. I was there one day when he was there. I heard the kirtans. I went down to Peacock Park, and it was always a nice thing. But I didn't know much about it. So I went down looking for this Carlos Castaneda in Mexico. Couldn't find him. Started coming back up. And I saw that this same Vishnu John was in a park in Arizona, Phoenix. I saw them doing kirtan and things. And Vishnu John said, I remember you. Weren't you in Michael's house in Florida?
Wow.
I said, yeah. And he says, oh. He says, you want to come back to the temple with us tomorrow? He says, for the Sunday feast program, you want to come back to the Phoenix temple with us? I says, okay. He says, so come here tomorrow and we'll go back to the temple together. So I had a friend who had a car. So we decided to go to all the date orchards and the fruit orchards and everything. And we filled up the station wagon with fruits that we stole from all the trees as an offering to Krishna.
Oh, how sweet of you.
So we're going to make an offering to Krishna.
You were fond of fruits since then.
So we came there and we gave it. And then I went that night with Vishnu John and I stayed 2 days in the Phoenix temple. Tamal Krishna Goswami was there, Vishnu John Swami there, Gadadhar was there. It was a Radha Damodar center. It wasn't a real full-fledged temple, right?
Traveling Sankirtan party.
It was a traveling Sankirtan house. They used to take houses all over and they'd spend some time. Maybe they'd do Sunday programs in those houses and stuff. And there was a Sunday program. So Vishnu John and Tamal Krishna says, we're going to India. This was 1973 in the beginning, or 72 and or 73 beginning. We're going to India. I said, well, I'm going to India too. From here, I'm going to New Orleans and I'm going to get a banana boat. And I'm going to go to India because I want to see what is India. They said, well, if you're here next year at this same time, we'll take you. I think it was the Gaur Purnima. We'll take you with us. I said, oh, very nice. So they left.
What made you charm to the Indian country as particular?
That's from early life.
Early life.
So I'm just telling you how I first came into Krishna consciousness, which is a little bit of an interesting story, which I haven't said much. So I left Vishnu John and Tamal Krishna Goswami in Arizona, and I had a pair of cartels. I had some Krishna book and a Bhagavad Gita. And that was, and I was thinking, and I was chanting on the side of, I started hitchhiking because I'd given up everything at this point. And anyways, it led me to New Orleans. I went to the New Orleans temple on Esplanade. I stayed a couple of days. But what we were really doing was we were going out into the cow pastures and picking these psilocybin mushrooms. I never used drugs like heroin, cocaine, or anything. Just, psilocybin, hashish, marijuana for mind expansion. For spiritual reasons is the only reason we use them, right? This was propagated by the leaders at that time. So in and out of this, I was a little bit part of that. So somehow or another, I thought that, that I've got to get my karma straight. Something's wrong. I'm not a devotee. I'm not a karmi. I didn't know. And I didn't know a lot about the philosophy. So I told you about that check in that grocery store with this lady I knew. And they put me to that stockade and they let me out very quickly on probation. But I had violated my probation by not reporting or doing anything, right?
Again, you were caught.
And I was wanted for that in Florida, but I'm in New Orleans. And I don't know. And then we took all these mushrooms and something came in my mind that if I wanted to see Krishna, I've got to get my karma straight, right? So I went to the police station.
In New Orleans?
In New Orleans. It's the House of the Rising Sun. You've probably heard there's a song, there is a house. That house is both a jailhouse and a whorehouse. Both of them there's two houses of Rising Sun. And this police station is right next to both of them, right? So I went into the police and I wrote on a piece of paper my name. I said, I want my karma straight. Check my name. You're wanted in Florida. Violation of probation. Right? You're wanted in Florida. And part of it was that the whole trial for that check hadn't finished yet. Okay? Pre-trial probation, something like that. I don't know. I was like just a kid. I was, by that time I had come to about almost 20. Right? Oh, we got him. They put me in the cell, in the house of the rising sun, in the jailhouse. They called Florida. Come and get this guy. Put him on trial over there. So I was in there about 20 days. And in the prison, in the jailhouse, or the house of the rising sun, which is famous among those kind of people, I shaved my head. I didn't know exactly all the meanings of it. And I didn't have a round seek. I had and mind you, I had a hair down to here. That's part of straightening out my karma. I took the sheets and I made dhoti, worked the best as I could. I took this toothpaste. I made tilaks. I knew the mantras for the tilak and everything. And I took a sheet and I knotted 108 beads and I started chanting 16 rounds. Where I hadn't even chanted, maybe 1 or 2 rounds in New Orleans and with Vishnu Jan and things. But it was coming spontaneously. And something very funny happened on the way to New Orleans from Vishnu Jan, but we won't get into that part. And then they came with an airplane to take me back to Florida, right? So we went back to Florida. They brought me to the jailhouse. And I immediately got bond on my own reconnaissance. And my brother and my friends, they were coming to take me out of the jailhouse. But I was like this with the sheet on, and I didn't have any other belongings. I'd left everything at New Orleans Temple and never went back and got them, my backpack and my other clothes. So when I was coming out, my brother was out there with some of my friends because we had a house in Miami. 2 devotees were coming into, or 2 or 3 devotees were coming into the jail. They looked at me. This is evening. They said, "Are you a devotee?" And it looked a little different, Prabhu, okay? And I said, "Yeah, I'm a devotee." They said, "Well, we're from the Miami temple. Would you like to come to the temple with us? We're here because we were distributing books in Miami airport and they arrested us. And now our bail bondsman is here and he's taking us out." I said, "Well, I'm also out on bond." And my brother's there and this bail bondsman is there. And these devotees were right there in the front. And they said, "Would you like to go back to the temple with us?" My brother's saying, come on, we're having a party tonight. I told him, "Look, I'll contact you tomorrow. Let me go with these people." I said, "I think I belong with them." I was telling him, I don't really know what I belong in anymore. I had no idea.
One side you have devotees, and other side you have your brothers.
So I went back to the temple with them. My brother left. And it was already night. Devotees were on the floor sleeping in the brahmachari ashram. I didn't have anything but this dress on me, okay? And this knotted thing. And I ran into who was called Bhakta Mike. He was the temple commander of the Miami temple, and Abhiram was the temple president.
Oh, is it?
And Bhakta Mike later became Mahashringa, then Mahashringa Maharaj.
Yeah.
So he looked at me like, what did the cat drag in here? He looked at me and he says, "You're a devotee?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You're going to stay here?" I says, "Yeah." He didn't ask me too much, right? He gave me like 2 dhotis, 2 kurtas. He gave me some toothbrush. He gave me some tilak. He gave me some gumshoes. He gave me a mat for the floor. He just looked at me like, "Well, what is this?" What's going? And he says, "Mangal Artik's at 4:00. That's east." I had no idea what he meant by that. That's because he had given me a mat to sleep on the floor with. He said, that's east. So I laid down. And I got up, I did the Mangal Artik, I put on the new clothes and everything. They fixed up my head a little bit. So there I was. And then they came with a car, you want to come back there? And I said, no, I'm going to stay here for a while. I don't know why.
Your brothers came in.
Yeah. My brother and some other friends. I said, I've decided to try this for 30 days. I'd never lived in a temple. I'd never chanted 16 rounds except in the jailhouse. I knew you were supposed to. I'm going to try this for 30 days. So immediately I became a Sankirtan devotee. And that's where Adri Dharna joined at the same time. So there was Adri Dharna, Mahashringa, Abhiram. We were all there.
In Miami temple.
In the Miami temple. Adri joined, he was doing hotel motel management. And so they took me out to Sankirtan. And I didn't want to take off the dhoti, and they were putting the wigs on and doing all this. So I went out to the street lights and I was doing Back to Godhead magazines. And the first day out, I beat my Sankirtan leader. In Indian dress, in dhoti. And
met your Sangeeta
they
leader.
told me, this is your propensity, Prabhu. Right? Yeah, I don't know. So we started doing Sankirtan. And traveling Sankirtan. They give me my own parties. People like Panchagoda joined under my party. And Bhaktapit at the time. All these devotees came out of this Miami group. Right? And so life was going on like that. And then Abhiram left. And I stayed in Miami. And they said, why don't you get initiated? And they said, we'll send Prabhupada a letter. And I said, no, I want only if Prabhupada comes and gives me my beads. This was 73 when I first joined.
You were insisting that Prabhupada should personally come and initiate you.
I didn't want Ritvik. Right? So meanwhile, I also, because I was able to do landscaping and planting and I knew a lot about those kind of things, we bought a new property in Miami and I landscaped the entire thing and we made beautiful chikis and plants and trees and fences and took stuff out of the Everglades and did a very beautiful thing near the campus. And I was full-time devotee, working with all these other devotees in Miami Temple. Meanwhile, going on traveling Sankirtan all over the place. And still I didn't get initiated. Then I heard Srila Prabhupada is coming to New Vrindavan.
Then you decided to go to
I said, well, I got to go where Prabhupada is and get initiated. So the devotees in Miami, by this time Abhiram had come and he was in India with Prabhupada. This was by 76. 2 years I did like that, distributing books and doing gardens and things.
You just waited for Swami Prabhupada to give you direct initiation.
They told me from Miami that I can't go to New Vrindavan without their permission, right? So we didn't... I didn't like that, right? So I decided to go without their permission because I wanted to be with Prabhupada. So I went there and Kirtanananda said, what are you here for? I said, I'm here for initiation from Prabhupada. And he said, how long have you been a devotee? What's this and that? I said, you check with Amarendra in Gainesville. You check with Abhiram. You check with Nahari. I said, He says, okay, Prabhupada's coming in a couple of months. You can be initiated, right? And they gave me service. I was a Cowherd boy.
In the West Virginia.
In Vrindavan, I was a Cowherd boy. And so the day Prabhupada was going to arrive in the airport in Pittsburgh, we all went to the airport. This was going to be my first time. When Prabhupada is coming, there's a special mood in the temple. It's a very special mood. And Prabhupada's coming, Prabhupada's coming. Prabhupada even remarked once, how come it is every temple I go to, it smells like fresh paint? So we're all in this mood that Prabhupada's coming. Now you got to picture this Pittsburgh airport, right? It's a round circle. and the planes come down on stairways up at the top. The stairways come up in off of the thing. So there was probably, because Radha Damodar and New Vrindavan, everybody from New York and everywhere were there. So there's hundreds of devotees down there, and then there's reporters, and then there's the airline people and everything. And we're all down in a big kirtan down there. So I liked to dance for Prabhupada at the time, you know. So I was down there dancing with the kirtan and everything. Then all of a sudden Prabhupada appeared. And the top, he was with Kulashekar. And Kulashekar had a briefcase, and Prabhupada was there with a cane and a bead bag. And all the devotees hit the ground. They did obeisances. But I didn't go down. I mean, the airline officials weren't, but I mean, hundreds of devotees, boom! As soon as Prabhupada appeared, and I'm just looking up at him. Prabhupada looked right down in this crowd, and I was standing up, orange, saffron. Prabhupada goes, down, you know?
Commanding.
So, of course, that was my first instruction from him, to offer obeisances, right? I never had a lot of personal association with Prabhupada. Then we came in New Vrindavan. And like I said, I like to dance. And I was even wondering if Prabhupada would give me some name that had something to do with dancing and Lord Chaitanya. I was thinking like that, you know, hoping or whatever. I didn't know. We were just young.
Because you're fond of dancing, we wanted a name to be.
We were new to Krishna consciousness too, right? But fully absorbed, right from let me try it, 30 days, and I never left. So one day we're on a morning walk.
This is in West Virginia.
This is in New Vrindavan. And I'm herding the cows. There are a number of pictures with me and Prabhupada and herding the cows on this morning walk. And Hari Sori is taking the microphone and everything like that. And there was one cow, her name was Kalindi. She was the only cow I brought on that walk. And I had brought her. And she was nudging Prabhupada. And Prabhupada would pat her on the head and things like that, right? So at one point, I was a couple people away from Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada turns and he just says in the air, he says, "How old is this cow?" So Hari Sori said, "She's very old, Prabhupada." And I came there right next to Prabhupada. And I said, "No, Prabhupada, she's young. And her name is Kalindi," right? Hari Sori was so mad at me. So no, because I'm correcting him, which I shouldn't have done. So Prabhupada turned to me and he said, "Yes." He looked me right in the eye. And by this time I'm standing right next to him. "You must protect the cows." Next instruction.
Right? Protect cows.
So then we went and we were going, and he was coming into the Bahulaban temple, New Vrindavan temple, Radha Vrindavan Chandra temple. And we're outside, we're dancing and everything, and then brahmachari, shaved head and all that stuff with Srila Prabhupada. And he's going to come inside the Bahulaban temple. So there's only enough place to sit on the side and for Prabhupada to come down the middle. So I was very enthusiastic to dance. And I came from outside and I came into the temple and I was staring there. And one devotee was there who's not with us anymore. He thought that my dancing might disturb Prabhupada, right?
You were dancing.
Yeah, I was really dancing. So he kind of pushed me to the back in this little small foyer way. So Prabhupada walked in and all the devotees were like in awe. Prabhupada walked, he stepped right next to me. He raised his bead bag and his cane and he says, "Dance."
Wow.
He goes, "Dance." And just 2 days before that, there was a Rathayatra in Cleveland, Ohio. Prabhupada couldn't come because he was feeling some cold. So we went, and on the front page of the Cleveland Post, there was a Rathayatra cart with Jagannath, And then there was a devotee dancing, his feet were off the ground and his hand was up and his chadar was flying, and that was me. And Prabhupada told Kulashekar, who is that devotee? He dances like Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada told Kulashekar that. So then Prabhupada goes, dance, right? And then, of course, we got Prabhupada's Charnamrita. We got his foot bathing water. We got the cookie from his hand. We got the dust from his feet. Made sure that we got all those things. Because I was only with Prabhupada personally in New Vrindavan for that 10 days. Some other morning walks I did with him. When he went down to Radhakund to bathe in the Radhakund we had dug there, I was there with helping to go with Prabhupada, and everybody was jumping in, and there was a raft, and they were playing in the water and everything. And I just stood next to Prabhupada because I was friends with some of the sannyasis and other people who were close with Prabhupada, so they let me to be right there, okay? Even in the morning walks, give them a place. Somehow they let me, Kirtananda gave me a little favor too in that way. So Prabhupada came up to Radhakund, and he had on a red gamsha from Mayapur, and not talking to anybody in particular, right? And he had taken water from the kunda and put it on his head. He said, for old man, 3 drops is enough. So now you all go. And everybody went in and started swimming.
He just did Pukshana and then allowed you to.
So he did that. And then there was a lecture in the garden. And I had done that garden in Prabhupada's famous Vyasasana, the wooden ones that he sits on in New Vrindavan. He was sitting on one of those, and I was in the front row right in front of him. In all the pictures, you'll see my brahmachari head sticking out with my sika and everything. And Prabhupada had a rose in his hand. And he said, Krishna consciousness is like this rose. He said, if I take this rose and I say, let me give it to my girlfriend. And he frowned and he says, I'm going to hell. And he says, but if I take the same rose, and it's funny because I had given that rose. He says, if I take that same rose and I say, let me give it to Radha Vrindavan Chandra, Prabhupada smiles and he says, I'm going to Vaikuntha. And he threw the rose and it was coming right at me.
Wow.
I thought, wow, this is really fortunate. And then this devotee grabbed it. I didn't get the rose. Then the next thing Prabhupada says, and he looks me directly in the eye. I'm only this far away. Directly he goes, give this one life to Krishna.
Haribol.
So I took that as another instruction. Give this one life to Krishna. And when Prabhupada was traveling around America, he would always want some fresh coconut, some neem twigs, and there would be these yagnas for initiations everywhere. So they would need banana leaves, they would need coconuts, they would need all the paraphernalia, firewood from the mango tree and all this to do the yagnas. So I was in Miami and I was doing all these gardenings and everything. And I would make big boxes, like once a week, send them to wherever Prabhupada was. They would have neem twigs in them. They would have fresh coconuts for Prabhupada. So I was, for a couple of months, I was sending those by airplane to Prabhupada every day.
Prabhupada was very fond of mangoes of Miami.
Oh, Miami mangoes. We moved into that Miami property and there wasn't hardly even a leaf, what to speak of a mango on the trees. So they said, you got to make these trees grow. So we did pruning, we did sunning, we did fertile, we did everything. And the Hayden mangoes, they were called. They started coming like every day. And in those boxes, we would send Prabhupada mangoes too.
Prabhupada was very fond of mangoes and he would
what
ask
Prabhupada
them,
said, they were taking him to, they wanted him to go to Russia and preach, right? And one of the devotees said, well, Prabhupada, how can you go to Russia now? He says, it's mango season in India. Prabhupada said, preaching in the snow in Russia is sweeter than any mango.
Haribol, that's the spirit of Prabhupada.
That was what Prabhupada did. So like that, then we got initiated and things like that. That was in 76 when I got initiated. with some other stalwarts. And
When
then
you got initiated, how was that scene?
Prabhupada gave me my beads in my hand. And it was funny, when he gave me my beads, he said to me, he says, "What are the rules?" And I told the rules, and he says, "Your name is Tattva Darshan Das." And I heard it very clearly, and it's on a tape. So I don't know where that tape is anymore. So then when they took me outside and everything after the initiation, they said, "Your name is Tattva Darsha." I said, "That's not what Prabhupada said." He said Darshan very clearly. No, it's Tattva Darsha. So they entered that in Prabhupada's book. But then I got the tape, and over years, so they changed it after some years.
Okay.
And so for a couple of years, they were calling me Tattva
Darsha.
Darsha, you know?
Mhm.
So even the temple president there was at Narhari. He's the one who got the sailboat and everything.
Mhm.
He came and he says, "Why are you being called Tattva Darshan? You were Tattva Darsha." And I explained the whole story to him. So that was a little thing at the
Prabhu,
time.
were you disappointed that you wanted a name related to dancing and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and suddenly it gave a heavy philosophical Tattva Darshan?
No,
Das.
I never crossed my mind again.
Uh-huh.
I never really thought
Whatever
about it again.
Prabhupada gave it, take it as mercy.
And so we went on traveling Sankirtan then all the time. And somewhere in, we all became concerned that Prabhupada was leaving, right? And what they told us was that Prabhupada said he would stay to finish the Bhagavatam. Now, this is a very true story.
This is in 77.
This was by the time we were into 77, right? And I wanted to leave immediately and come to India and be with Prabhupada. But they said, no, Prabhupada wants us all to stay there. Now, you know, at this time, in the beginning of May, this story was narrated to me by Jagat Guru Swami, who was personally there at the time. Prabhupada had said, "Tell all my disciples to come to Vrindavan." He gave the order. And he told Jagat Guru Swami, he said, "You prepare, at least find out how many devotees will come, and you prepare the rooms of Boga." So he started making tents on top of the Gurukula, started booking our dhamshalas, started getting vegetable suppliers and setting up kitchens and things. So a few of the GBC men, they didn't think it was a very good idea. And they went to Prabhupada and they told him, 1,000 devotees will come. It'll be $1,000 for each devotee, right? And that'll be $1 million. How can our society afford that? We're just a young society. When Prabhupada heard that, he said, "Let them come. Let them come." So Jagat Guru Swami kept making the arrangements. He told me the story 3 times. With hardly any variation, sometimes some added things. I'm even condensing it a little because this isn't about that. And he said then they went back and they decided who will come. Temple presidents will come because they can get the money. Pujaris will come because they can get the money, isn't it? And all the book distributors will become because they got their hands on all the money. Otherwise, book distribution is going to stop. Not only $1 million, but there'll be no collection. We won't be able to pay anything in the temples. And the management will stop because all the temple presidents and everyone go. And even the deity worship might stop.
These were the reasons what they're giving, not to
They're
get
giving to
disciples.
Prabhupada, right? Prabhupada's answers were that you don't maintain this movement, Krishna does.
Hari Paul.
He maintains this movement. Nothing can stop book distribution. The book distributors can't stop book distribution. And he said, if the deities, he says, you can put them to rest and they will understand. Even on that point, you can put them to rest and they will understand. So, and Prabhupada said, let them come. They
Still
didn't let them come. Okay? And, you know, he gave the duty to some different GBCs and everything. So and at the same time, when Prabhupada was calling the devotees, there was going to be a meeting of the GBC to discuss BBT, Last Will and Testament, property trustees, DOME, Directive of Management, and
Initiation.
initiations in the future. Okay?
May 28th conversation.
So, a few days before May 28th, Srila walked into the Krishna Balaram temple, and he was met by Jagadguru Swami. Jagadguru Swami says, Maharaj, they're both Maharajas. So how many can we expect? I'm planning for 1,000. Satsvarup says, I have scrapped the idea. We have scrapped the idea. And what's happening in America? They're telling us that Prabhupada has agreed to stay and finish the Bhagavatam. They never told us Prabhupada's calling his disciples. We were every day getting ready to go to India when we heard. They even told, when we heard Prabhupada wasn't eating anymore. Then they say he started eating strawberry and he was okay. And they gave us a prayer, Lord, Sri Krishna, if you so desire. But it was all false because they didn't want us to stop book distribution, stop bringing in the money and stop doing all this. Meanwhile, people who wanted to get initiation were being stocked up. So we didn't know it, right? And the Christmas marathon, you know, it starts at Thanksgiving in November. So anyways, Satsvarup said, we scrapped it. We scrapped the idea, meaning Rameshwar, Bhagavan, Tamal Krishna Maharaj were the main ones. And Adi Keshava was part of it then too, in New York. They scrapped the idea. A few days later, May 28th conversation. Our first question to you, Srila Prabhupada, which is on the mind of every devotee, especially if Prabhupada's leaving, how initiations will be conducted in the future when you are no longer with us. Even what they wrote in the minutes of the GB is different than what's in the conversation. But we never saw the conversation. We never saw the order of Prabhupada. We never saw to asking the devotees to come. Telegrams were sent too. We never saw the July 9th letter until in the 80s. We never saw it. So on November 14th, 1977, we were preparing for a Christmas marathon. It was going to be a few days later when Thanksgiving started. I was in the Tulsi house in Miami. In the Tulsi house, because I was also caring for Tulsi and getting our party ready for the marathon, Christmas marathon. And some devotee comes in and he says, Srila Prabhupada left. And the first thing that came in my mind was something I had read in the Bhagavatam, that when the spiritual master leaves, the devotee must cry. Devotees should cry. And all of a sudden, I just collapsed and I started crying like anything in the Tulsi house, right? And then they started telling me, you know, Prabhupada wants you to go out on Sankirtan and do this and do that. They denied us the right to come and see Prabhupada in India. So for the next, month, it was really weird, right? We didn't know what was going on. Nobody knew anything. And I said, I got to go to India. I'd not been to India yet. December 1977, I came to India for the first time. December 1977, Prabhupada had already left. And I remember one of the first things which happened was we came Mayapur and Vrindavan, of course, and they were already building Vyasasans. I remember going over in Navadweep and the Vyasasans were almost ready, even a month after Prabhupada. They had been commissioned before Prabhupada left, the Vyasasans. There was 11 of them. By Gaur Purnima and Mayapur, there were 11 Vyasasans.
Bro, you said they were commissioned even before Prabhupada left.
Even before. They were started to be built even before Prabhupada left. So there was 11 Vyasa sons. And at the time, there was a question. The question was, how many Vyasa sons can there be? Right? Now, mind you, the world divided into 11 zones. This was it for future, for all time to be. The world was divided into 11 zones. 11 acharyas Prabhupada appointed as successors. He never gave us any proof or anything. So in Mayapur, they put up 11 Vyasa sons, 1 inch smaller than Prabhupada's Vyasa son. Haranyagarbha, who's no longer with us, he just left recently, very good Sanskrit scholar. He wrote a song called Eko Mahajan. Eko Mahajan, Bhavanandanam, Satsarupagan. This is going to repay, for those gurus, they won't sing Sri Guru Vandana, they'll sing this song. So everybody's lined up on 11 Vyasa sons in Mayapur. And they called Ritvik Prabhu. You sing the song. Mm. So he sang the first song like that. We didn't know what was going on, Prabhu, okay? Ritvik sang the first one. It was never sang years after that, too. There was a big protest. So that was in Mayapur. And then I remember I was there. There was Jayatirtha, Sarup Damodar, and no who else? We went to Navadvip to meet with Sridhar Maharaj.
You were there?
I was there. We went to Navadvip, and the question was the Vyasa sons. Because how many Vyasa sons can there be? There were 6 fixing to put up 11 in Vrindavan too, but there was no space. It would have taken up the whole courtyard, right? And in other temples and that. So they went to Sridhar Maharaj with the question about the Vyasa sons. How many can there be? And this is after Pradyumna writes his letter that no one can, that they can't even sit 1 inch above their god brothers. And he wrote that famous letter. We didn't even know what was Ritvik. He wrote that famous letter. We were in Vrindavan. What they decided, I'll tell you what Sridhar Maharaj said. What they decided at the time was that there would be 3 Vyasa sons in a temple. Prabhupada's, 1 for the zonal acharya, and 1 for the visiting acharya. And if more than 1 was visiting, they could share on the visiting one. Okay? They had decided like that. So they made 3 Vyasa sons, 2 extra ones in Vrindavan. And we went to Vrindavan. And who was there? Pradyumna was there, I remember. And Yashodanandana. I didn't know what was going on. They knew. Yashodanandana was the scholar, the Purohit, you know? And Pradyumna was very... So they took those 2 Vyasa sons extra, they took them up on top of the Gurukula building and they threw them down. Broke them. I was right there when they threw those off the thing. Right? I didn't know what was going on, but it made sense to me. They said, do you know what's going on? I said, I'm a rebel. I'll tell you that. I don't know what's going on, but I'm a rebel. From the day I arrived in India in 1977, December, I was a rebel.
You've been a rebel.
And I'd never changed. So then we're in Navadvip with Sridhar Maharaj. I remember Jayatirtha was there, Sarup Damodar Swami was there, and maybe Jayapataka Swami was there, and somebody else. They're discussing the Vyasa sons with Sridhar Maharaj. And Sridhar Maharaj made that famous statement, then he says, you know, I'm a mutt breaker. I'm not a mutt maker. I'm a mutt breaker. He believed in the independence of the little thing. So he says, anyways, he said, in answer to the Vyasa son, he said, I see it very clearly now. They were all explaining, talking about 2 Vyasa, 3 Vyasa sons, the seniority of one guru over another, all the stuff they're talking to him. Sridhar Maharaj is sitting there in his seat, and he says, I see it all very clearly in the future. And he raised his hand up in the sky. He says, Vyasa sons, from the mountains to the seas. He said, I see it all very clearly.
From the mountains to the seas.
So that myth was blown right then, right in the beginning. But we didn't know, Prabhu. Nobody knew what was going on. We were still, you know, ISKCON officers. We were still doing things. We still had some faith in these guys, but we couldn't understand it. And they never gave a proof. of how Prabhupada appointed 11
No
of
one
them.
questioned them at that point of time.
Yeah, of course, a few questioned it. Yashodanandana, they moved Pradyumna out. You know, an interesting story about, I mean, this has nothing to do with me. An interesting story with Pradyumna, and this ties in with the missing tapes too. Because someone who was in the room in Vrindavan was there. Now, what Prabhupada told Pradyumna to translate the Bhagavatam, he told him no purports. Only purports of the previous acharyas could be translated, but no purports, right? And you translate. So they're in a room in Vrindavan, in Prabhupada's room. Prabhupada's still there at this time, okay? This was probably in September 77. And someone in the room says, now I was told this by somebody in the room, they say it's recorded, but there's no tape. And the person who told me this is even against that there are no stolen tapes. But that's another story. He said that Hridayananda is going to Harvard to learn Sanskrit so he can translate the Bhagavatam. And there's only 5 people, at least three of them sannyasis in the room. Prabhupada's lying down. He doesn't get up much at all. Prabhupada sat up.
From that condition?
From the lying down in September. He sat up and he said, no, only Pradyumna will finish the Bhagavatam. I have personally trained him. He completely said no to Hridayananda. So we went back down. Prabhupada. And it was recorded, but there's no recording of that. Many things, there's no recordings anymore. So we were here.
What happened to those recordings, those tapes, bro?
There's different stories. There's different stories on them. I asked Tamal Krishna Goswami about it one time. They were supposed to have originated, they were in a metal trunk. Maybe there's 100 tapes or something. Some people say 200, but I don't think there could have been that many tapes. Anyways, I asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj a long time ago. I said, Maharaj, what did they say? There's some tapes that are missing. Is it true? He said, all I know is there were some tapes in a metal box and it was stolen in the New Delhi railway station. A trunk. And I said, who? You were there? What happened? He didn't give any proper answer. Now, Rajashekar gave his last interview. He told how Smarhari and him had been asked to destroy the tape.
Smarhari showed up. Prabhuji, I've got a problem. So what's that? He said the GBC want me to burn some of the tapes. But you see, in those days, that can only mean Tamal Krishna speaking, because he was Mr. GBC all by himself, and everybody knew. I told Smarhari, you can't burn Prabhupada's tapes. He told me, the GBC have asked me. So I thought, well, that's Tamal, obviously, because nobody calls GBC. There's no meeting, nothing like that. So this means, there weren't any GBCs around except Tamal. It was pretty obvious to me. So I said, well, look, how can you do that? It's a great sin. So just give me those tapes. I'll stash them somewhere, secretly. You just go back and say, okay, they've been burned. So it's hard to think about that. But the poison where I mentioned, Prabhupada said, I became an old man, that was obliterated. That was one of the main things, see? Because twice Prabhupada said it and he actually mentioned Jayapataka's name. So they understood, oh, Srila Prabhupada must be knowing what Jayapataka has been doing. Because Prabhupada pointed that at him, see? Then after a few days again he's coming, oh Prabhuji, they're putting pressure on me, I have to burn these tapes. I said, well, I've already told you, just give them to me. I will hide them very carefully. There's a glass box, we'll put the box in the railway station or somewhere, luggage place, don't worry. Nobody will know, I'm the only one who knows. And you'll say, oh Prabhuji, I have to think about that. Smarhari, he was always a yes man. So he's never going to say no to anybody, but it was on his consciousness, that's for sure. They disappeared, but in the story.
And Smart Hari denies it. And there's difference, but at that point, this was later in the 80s when I was with Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I was with him for 2 years in the Philippines. I was with him in Prabhupada's house in Rishikesh, that Prabhupada stayed in. And that's when I asked him about the tapes. And he did admit that there was a box of tapes stolen. He did tell me that did happen. He didn't say how many tapes, who stole it, what it was. He said it was stolen in the New Delhi railway station. He did tell me that. You know? So.
When did you come to know about July 9th letter, Prabhu?
I don't think we came to know about the July 9th letter till the Vedic Village Review. See, Nityananda, he had some farms in America after he left New Talavan, and this one down in Mississippi. So there was Rupa Vilas, Karnamrita, him, and we had a big meeting down there. I was in that meeting. And I think that's the first time we heard about the July 9th letter. When was that? That would have been 82, 83 or something, 84, something like that.
In 1980, when Tamal Krishna Maharaj confessed that Prabhupada didn't appoint us,
Topanga Canyon.
Were you there with him at that point of time, Prabhu?
No. Tamal Krishna didn't even remember at the time that he had preached to me, and I met him in Arizona as a long-haired hippie.
Mm.
Then he came to Miami once. This was funny. He came with the Radha Damodar party to Miami, and I was in the Miami temple. And there was this Indian family there from India that lived in Florida, and they lived on the other side of town. And I was preaching to them how beautiful was Mangal Artik, and they had a little baby too, 6-year-old baby. How beautiful was Mangal Artik. It was the best time of the day and everything. And you should come to Mangal Artik, you should come there. And they left after the Sunday feast. And Tamal says to me, he says, Brahmachari, you should learn how to preach. Those people will never come from the other side of the town to Mangal Artik. They're a family man. He's got a business. They got to take care of the kids. He says, that wasn't good preaching. Next morning they came.
Wow.
And when did they come? Just when Tamal was leaving. And I related that to him many years later, and he remembered. So I would meet him here and there and up and down, but he didn't correlate so many things and everything. And then I came to be in his zone, Philippines, Hong Kong, America, Dallas, and things. And we went.
This is in the late 80s.
Yeah, and we went to the big meeting in New Vrindavan together when they threw out Bhavananda. And I was on the phone with him and Bhagavan, and he was putting it on the speakerphone so we could hear what was going on and everything. And we had a lot of very close sessions. We had some stormy sessions too. Satvik was there for some of those too. And Shringa Maharaj and Jittarati. We were a group over in the Philippines and in Hong Kong, in that area too. And so I got to know him a little bit well. Like I said, we spent 10 days in the last house Prabhupada was in Rishikesh. There was Tamal Krishna Goswami, Bhakti Charu Swami, Shringa Swami, Giridhari Swami, and myself in that house for 10 days. They were reminiscing. So I did get to know him. And a couple of times I challenged him on a couple of things. Oh, he didn't like to be challenged. Once he's giving a lecture to us all in his room in the Manila temple, which was right next to a slaughterhouse. So you heard all these sounds, right? Anyways, we're in this room and he's reading his Jagannath thing. Tejas was there too in this room. And he says that, it's not enough to be a sannyasi. It's not enough to be a GBC. It's not enough to be a guru. He would read his poems and things for hours, and we'd sit there waiting to the early morning hours listening to him, right? And he said, one has to become a pure devotee. He says, and I have decided to become a pure devotee. I've decided to become a pure devotee. He says, but I don't want to be a pure devotee alone. I want you all to be a pure devotee with me, Tejas, Satvik, Mahashringa, myself. I want you all to be a pure devotee. I don't know if, I think Satvik was there. I don't know if you want to. I want to be a pure devotee with all. He says, so now he says, come at me. You tell me, what do I have to give up? What do I have to do to be a pure devotee? Right? He says, but be careful, because then I'm coming back at you, because I want you to be, I want you to be a pure devotee too. So Tejas, he says, why do you wear that Rolex? He says, you think having a Rolex is a difference between a pure devotee and not a pure devotee? He took the Rolex off and he threw it at me. I caught it. I said, thank you. And I took the Rolex. And then it just went on for another couple of hours. Then when the meeting was over, he asked me to give him back the Rolex.
Pure devotee.
One time I went into Munshi Ram Motial Banarsi Das bookstore. This goes under this thing. I went way in. I was always looking for different rare books. And way back in the corner, I found Tamal Krishna down there alone. I said, Maharaj, what are you doing down here? He says, now you know where I am when nobody can find me.
Where was this?
This was in Delhi.
Delhi.
So all these things, you know.
New Vrindavan.
We're sitting in a room in Dallas. And on the other end of the phone is Bhagawan and Rameshwar. And they're telling that we're throwing they're going to throw Bhavananda out, right? And Bhavananda says he'll never put on white. He said and Bhavananda's on some phone too. It's a conference call. It wasn't like we have now. And it's just before the New Vrindavan meeting. And Bhavananda says, I'll never put on white unless I become a Babaji. So Tamal Krishna says, Prabhupada said you can only become a Babaji if whenever you're hungry, you can lean over, pick up some dirt and eat it. Then you can become a Babaji. And then they all started yelling at Tamal. And then Bhagawan says, you're out of the club. You're out of the club. And that's when he was doing, just after he did the Topanga Canyon. And Sura, he was a great BBT man. They were all Tamal's men. I went to St. Louis to prepare a Sankirtan van. And Sura gave me a bag full of these BBT buttons. And he says, you're going down to Texas and you're going around America doing books. I want you to distribute these BBT buttons. I said, sure, no problem. He says, but you got to know what they mean. I says, of course I know what it means. Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. He says, no, not these buttons. These buttons mean beat back Tamal. He says, that's what these buttons mean. And that's when he was telling no grahastas could live in the temple, and he was doing all this stuff. So I confronted Tamal about that in Dallas. I showed him my bag. I says, BBT buttons. I says, these come from Sura. They're beat back Tamal buttons. I says, you're creating quite a stir by doing this, stopping book distribution, taking the grahastas out of the temple. So I did have some experiences with Tamal Krishna Maharaj.
Prabhu, when did you came to Bangalore? In 1980s?
In 1980, beginning of 1980, South India was a little disarray because Hansaduta had just gone out. And
he was appointed by Prabhupada to take care of ISKCON Bangalore, right?
In the originally.
Society.
Yeah. So what happened was, like I said, we had these Mercedes-Benz buses from Mayapur. And Bhavananda and Jayapataka Maharaj asked a few of us. At that time, it was Parideya, myself. I don't think that Satvik and Mahashringa had come immediately at that time, right? To go down, Satvik's brother was there. To go down and reopen. They told me to go become the president of Bangalore and Parideya to be the president of Madras, right? So we came to Bangalore. After I'd only been there a little, and Garanga left.
Gauranga Prabhu was the
He
president
went
then.
to Trivandrum.
Okay.
Gauranga was a Radha Damodar, very, very charismatic, very handsome man, married to Krishna Vesha, one of Tamal's disciples. He's now in Australia. He's Christian, but he still loves. And his daughter is married to Panchagoda's son. So he still has some connection. So Gauranga was there. We were friends. And Nishringa, who was also with me, they went to Trivandrum to open the temple, right? So I opened the Bangalore temple. After I'd only been there a short while, Jayapataka Maharaj and Satyadanya Maharaj came down. Jayapataka was the GBC. Satyadanya, we traveled. We went to different places together too, in Europe and stuff. And there was a box inside the closet. I took it out and I opened it. In this box was the Utsav Gornitai deities, which are now in Bangalore. And there were some pictures of these deities being bathed with a conch shell and some milk and things. And there was a certificate from the Register of Societies of Karnataka. I think it was ISKCON of Karnataka.
ISKCON Bangalore Society.
ISKCON Bangalore Society, something of Karnataka. And I took it out. It was in a frame. I didn't know what it was. We had no idea. We weren't even giving accounts to Bombay in 1980. The Bureau was practically non-existent. It's just a piece of paper, right? But we were all ISKCON. We knew that. So I took it. I didn't know what it was. So I brought it to Jayapataka Swami and Satyadanya. And I said, what is this? He won't say it now. He said, Prabhupada told Shankerbrit to register a society in Karnataka. Now, Shankerbrit had been here before that on Bull Temple Road.
Before Gauranga Prabhu.
Before Gauranga, in a different place. That was that Bull Temple, Shiva Temple. They were thrown out of there because one German, Ishvaku, had taken the water from a Charnamrita bowl to wipe himself after passing stool or something. And the Orthodox Brahmins of the Shiva, they couldn't handle it, okay? Ishvaku was a nice devotee. Because there's no water, there's no electricity. Anyways, so I asked Jayapataka Maharaj, what's the certificate? And I got to know Shankerbrit very well. That's another story. How the GBC asked me to do things and get him out, and what happened in Tirupati and all this stuff. Somehow I got these jobs. I don't know how. So Jayapataka Maharaj told me that Prabhupada told Shankerbrit he could register a society in Karnataka, and that Karnataka would be the first Krishna conscious state in India.
Haribol.
Right? And
this was told by Prabhupada to Shankerbrit Prabhu.
That's what Jayapataka Maharaj told me.
Oh, okay.
And he didn't say anything more about the certificate. He left. Satyadanya stayed. So we took the deity, we put a bed up like that and a table under it, and we made it. And the next morning we had Mangal Artik for those deities. There were no deities in the temple. Rented house, we were only about 5 devotees, right? And we did a Mangal Artik and everything. And then this guy came up to the temple. He was a Shetty on a bicycle. And he knew Gauranga. He knew Shankerbrit, right? And he asked me, do you have any service for me? He says, I know this house. I was Gauranga. I met him. And I asked him, you've been around a while? He said, yeah. I said, do you know what the certificate is? We had no idea what any of this meant, Prabhu, okay? We weren't even aware so much of the Bureau and ISKCON and all that stuff. We're just ISKCON, that's it. It's all Prabhupada, right? And mind you, at this time, we had Atma Tattva, we had Gaur Keshava, we had Shaima Sundar, we had Mahashringa, we had myself, we had Satvik, we had Durgamba, we had Bhagavatamrita. We were all in the Bangalore temple, okay? Madhu Pandit had joined. He wasn't staying in the temple, though. And Chanchalapati, they were coming. Ma Sundar was coming. They're all coming, okay? They joined. He actually got his Krishna consciousness from Bombay, from IIT. So I asked the Shetty, Hope I'm not mixing too many things together. I said, what is this certificate? He says, oh, that's a society that Shankerbit registered, 1978. And I knew something about the law societies and things. It's a little experience, not as much as we have now. And I said, can you take this down and can you go to the Register of Societies? He's in Kempagoda Road. Can you file nil accounts for 79 and 80? Can you do that? He said, yeah, I know the office. I know everything there. And it cost a couple thousand rupees or something, right? So he went and he filed. I don't know what happened to that filing or the new certificates or anything. I don't know. They say they never found a record of that, okay? So I put that on the wall in our office. We didn't have chairs and things. It was all on gutties on the floors. And Madhu Pandit came in one day. I think he was still Madhu Sudan, or maybe he would already become Madhu Pandit Prabhu. And he asked, what is that certificate? I said, I don't know. Prabhupada said to do it. We're registered in Karnataka.
He asked you, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, what's that certificate? And we wanted to move to a better house. So we applied to rent control for the house up on Upper Palace Orchard Roads. You had to apply to rent control. In the name of that society, ISKCON Bangalore of Karnataka, I forget the full name now.
ISKCON Bangalore Society.
ISKCON Bangalore Society.
Karnataka.
Karnataka, right. I know Karnataka was in there. I thought it was ISKCON of Karnataka. ISKCON Bangalore Society of Karnataka. So we applied for that, right? Meanwhile, Mahashringa came in and became the president of Bangalore. I started the first BBT for Tamil, not Telugu, that was already going on, Tamil, Karnataka, and Malayali. And I became a BBT manager. And they called me up to Hyderabad Farm for the Hyderabad Farm crisis because Mahamsa was blooping with Jenny, the girl up there. And so I kind of came out of Bangalore, right? And there was a war with Bhaktivedanta Swarup Swami there and everything too. Actually, I started that war. We didn't like what he was doing. So he came in one day and he told Mahashringa, who had become the president, I was BBT manager ready to go up to Hyderabad. Madhu Pandit and Prabhu and I mean, it was mainly his legal expertise and things. We turned around that whole Hyderabad thing way back then.
Way back then.
And Madhu was, I mean, amazing what he did, you know? I learned a lot from it too. But somehow he already knew these things, okay? I learned. You know, I learned some of it from Madhu, right? So Bhaktivedanta Swarup came in. By this time, Mahashringa was the president and Ritvik was the vice president. And a lot of the other devotees were moving out. So I had just had an argument with the Swamiji upstairs. So he came, so we're all sitting in the office. He comes down to the office and he tells Mahashringa and Ritvik, either this man goes or I go. And he was the regional secretary, the sannyasi. And Mahashringa looked at him and he said, goodbye, Maharaj.
Oh.
We were already in some of these guru issues, and this guy was playing this thing. He used to, forget about it. And so that was my involvement in Bangalore.
When did you go out of Bangalore and where did you go later?
I went to Hyderabad Farm.
Who took over Bangalore after you left?
Mahashringa.
You said you were
And Ritvik was there with him.
You were the one who introduced Chanchalapati Prabhu and Madhu Pandit Prabhu to Jayapataka Swami.
Initiation by telegram.
Initiation by telegram. How was that? When was it? And can you share?
That would have been in 80, 1980. And I mean, fully qualified. I don't need anybody to introduce them, right? And that's an argument too, because Jayapataka Maharaj is a Ritvik. And their name is given by Prabhupada because Jayapataka Maharaj is a Ritvik. They don't have to change their name or reinitiation or anything.
True.
In 2009 or 8, just before Jayapataka Maharaj's first stroke, already his legs were swelling and stuff. I met him in Bangkok. He was giving a program there. So I came to the program. And he said, well, I really can't stay and talk to you. I got to arrange a thing. I got to go to the airport. I said, well, Maharaj, I'm here with the first cousin of the king of Cambodia. We have a Mercedes here. Why don't we take you to the airport in that? Right? So he said, okay. So the lady was driving. His bodyguard was in the front and him and I were in the back. And we start driving. Maharaj turns to me and says, Tattva, what is this I hear? I said, I don't know, Maharaj, you're all over this planet. You must hear a lot. How do I know what you hear? He says, I heard you're a Ritvik. I said, Maharaj, that's not true at all. You're a Ritvik, and Prabhupada appointed you. How can I be the Ritvik? Prabhupada never appointed me. For the first time in my life, now I love Jayapataka Maharaj, okay? I've had a lot of things with him. We had our differences. I says, Jayapataka, for the first time in my life, and I've been with him in a lot of places, in a lot of different situations, right? I said, Maharaj went silent. He didn't give that big grin. He didn't give a one-liner. 10, 15 seconds, he was silent. And I said, and just think, Maharaj. He's still silent. I said, you always wanted to be number one. I says, and now, if you proclaim yourself as a Ritvik, you're the only one left in good standing, and you are the one. He said, that's not true. He says, and I says, what? I says, don't talk to me about Satsvarup Maharaj, and don't talk to me about Hadikeshan. I says, you're the only one left in good, and Hridayananda, you're the only one in good standing. Then he says, oh, now I understand. He said, you're a soft Ritvik. you're not a hard Ritvik. So everything is perfect about what was done by Madhu Pandit. All this Madhu Bandit and things, it's all nonsense. He did it exactly according to Prabhupada's desire, exactly according to the GBC. He opposed me to come in Karnataka and start a farm. I won the battle with the GBC, but we were always gentlemen. We never broke our pact of friendship, He never played dirty. And even now, this whole thing, they say broadcast, none of it's true. He has perfect right to do whatever he's done. And now, the proof for the pudding. He said to me this morning, Madhu Pandit Prabhu, I says, my God, I didn't even know this was going on in Ahmedabad. I said, this is an amazing project. You're doing so many things. Because I was in Gujarat as a regional secretary for 2.5 years under Yashomati Nandan as GBC.
This was in the year?
When was it? Maybe it was 85 and 86.
Wow.
I think so, 85.
Even Satvik Prabhu was here for some time.
Satvik was here helping to do the Padayatra. We started the Padayatra here.
From Dwarka.
Yeah, but we started it in Odav. We assembled all the things. That's a whole nother story about Padayatra and Lokanath and all that stuff. Lokanath didn't start the Padayatra. Satvik and I did. And it started long before India too. It started in America. Lokanath took the credit. So
you were telling something about Ahmedabad.
So Madhu Pandit said to me this morning when I said to him, wow, it's amazing what's gone here in just a few years and stuff like that. And he said, we're unstoppable.
Jai Prabhupada.
Said, we're unstoppable. And I said, it's true. Purity is the force. Prabhupada's purity. So,
Can you share a few things about the farm and what's the current status? How did you start it off and what's the current status of your farming? What made you start that
you
project?
see, back in 91, we were trying to, because books and farms, we all have our Guru Datta Desh, our Seva. So mine was set as books and farms. Even Prabhupada gave some hints to that. And then the instruction came up about Prabhupada to start Varnashram community by sitting down and living off the land, right? Now, that Varnashram, we cannot mistake that. It wasn't for the farms. Prabhupada's Varnashram plan was for the world government. The whole government would become, the whole democracy would be finished, or as Prabhupada would say, democracy, demon crazy, socialism, communism, they would be finished with the World War III, right?
He predicted World War III.
Oh, he did a number of times in a number of different ways. And he gave some variations how it could be delayed and different things. That's a whole nother subject matter, which is going on very strong right now in the world too. We're already in World War III. It has already started.
It's already started, yeah.
Okay. It will finish with nuclear bombs. Now, some people deny the nuclear bombs don't even exist. So one of the famous statements which Srila Prabhupada made when he was going to Gita Nagari, and they asked Prabhupada, what are you going for? He said, I'm going to introduce 50% of my movement, which is yet to be done, and that's establish Varnashram. How will you do that? I'll teach you how to sit down and live off the land. Prabhupada had said on Varnashram. That's how it would come about. Of course, Prabhupada didn't make it to Gita Nagari. Another time he was in Vrindavan. This was 76. And he called the devotees, he says, let's go, we're going to Hyderabad. And they said, what for? He said, Hyderabad farm. He said, it's a new era of ISKCON. He says, we will start our Varnashram from there.
For Hyderabad farm, he said this.
Yeah, I studied the entire Hyderabad farm scenario. I was there for some years. Defeated the Badrukas twice. Took the whole farm back. Even now involved in some of the legal aspects and things because my name is on all the documents and stuff. So Srila Prabhupada, you know, he had a big vision for Hyderabad farm, right? It's a battlefield now. So I'd already invited time in Hyderabad farm, and I had been there and I had assimilated every instruction. I had interviewed every single person that was on there with Prabhupada. We did a lot of things in Hyderabad farm in those years, and Madhu Pandit came in as a co-regional secretary, and then I was nominated assistant GBC for Andhra by Jayapataka. And we did. So anyways, so that was there with the Hyderabad farm experience. Srila Prabhupada sit down and live off the land. So finally, by 1990 something, 91, we decided we're going to start a farm. So myself and another devotee, Shari, we went out in Hawaii and in New York and a couple of places, and we collected in about 7-8 months, profit about $150,000 US. We kept it, right? And we're going to buy a farm. So we started searching all over India. Searched with different devotees. We went down and we met Mahamsa in Kodai Canal, and I took Yogesh Chandra and we drove around. But we kind of like pinpointed Karnataka, right? And I was still the regional secretary, assistant GBC nominee for Andhra. I was still on the books, right? And Madhu Pandit was building the Bangalore temple. So we went around And after searching and searching, we kind of decided that this Bangalore region would be the best, right? We didn't know all the historical, spiritual significance of our places. So we bought some land in two places. One in Kharkov called Vrindavan, and we bought about 13 acres. We did it all with the legal process of trusts and societies, and we went tremendous amount of things, right? So Madhupandit Prabhu said, I don't think you should start in Karnataka. It will take the focus away from Bangalore. Now, when Bangalore got strong, you could expand. And now when this is getting strong, now you can expand international. But at that time, the mood was Bangalore. And we were rebels. Madhupandit was loyal to the system that he was doing so well in being bureau member, so many things. So he asked me, don't do it here. I said, but we've already decided this is the best place. He says, well, he fought me in the GBC. GBC gave me permission. They even said you can register a separate society in another name beside ISKCON, right? So we did that. We registered the Hare Krishna Society.
In Kudachadri.
Yeah, first registered, then we started buying land in that name under Societies Act, right? So there was a memorandum of understanding with Bangalore. We fulfilled. The relationship worked out just fine. But we were running a temple in Bangalore too. And I was still running Andhra, but then I gave that up. And in 2002, I gave up Bangalore too and went totally renegade. And so we found it based on different instructions from Prabhupada. When we go out there, like we had all these tools and we're just going to sit down and live off the land. It didn't work out that way exactly. Then there were legal battles. We had battles with the Varappa Moily, the chief minister. He didn't want us there.
In Karkala.
No, in Kudachadri.
Kudachadri.
Anyways, it went on, and our whole thought was always, we'll do what Prabhupada wanted, right? But it never really worked out like that. First off, very few devotees have any interest in living on a farm. And we were always preparing, hoping, maybe even hoping for World War III, because then devotees would have to come, right? And we went through our affiliation with ISKCON too. Jayapataka Maharaj used to come with the safaris, and all the sannyasis used to come, and it was, they had some hope for it. I used to get men from ISKCON, and I was the president of Bangalore too, regional secretary for that part of Karnataka. So there was some things. Then we went more and more rebel, and then some things happened in my personal life too. I was set up in a place called Cambodia by a big scam. It's all taken care of now. It's okay. Everything's clear. It was cleared back then. I was a guest of Cambodia from the King of Cambodia. I had a business there with the Deputy Prime Minister as my thing. And ISKCON was really going against me too, because I wasn't going the ISKCON way. They took me out of the BTG magazine. They did so many things, right? So farm went into many years of very big struggle, right? And self-sufficiency, we would plow the land with the bullocks. Nobody gave a fig what we were doing up there. And we got a little frustrated with it too. Then just to keep floating, I used to travel all over the world, especially to Korea and Singapore and Taiwan, to collect money to keep the thing going. 12, 14, 16 hours a day on the streets, collecting $1 at a time, And so, but we kept going. Then some people came in from Switzerland who I had known for many years. They're not devotees. They helped us build some guest house and some different things, right? And it gave us a little boost, a little more purpose. But as I grew more distant from ISKCON and more pronounced in the Ritvik stage, got very little support from ISKCON. ISKCON people stopped coming. They used to come in there in droves, you know? Sannyasis, everybody. And with your pharmacharyas like Bhakti Raghava Swami and Bhakti Vikash, they were good. They always came, and different people, right? But then that started fiddling out a little bit.
Because of your vocalness about Ritvik.
Yeah, that had a lot to do with it, right? And like I said, they wiped me out of the BTG and different things like that. And they falsely put me on the blacklist, and they put me on the blacklist in ISKCON. They labeled me as a child molester on unfounded things, when the High Court and everything in Cambodia said something completely the opposite. There was no, they just did it clandestinely. So I went a lot of struggle, but still a few faithful devotees, you know, stayed with Madhu Pandit, helped me out some. Jittarati was there, Mashringa was there, Mandapa was there, and they were helping. Satvik was around. Everybody was helping me, right? Because we're old friends. And they come around, and I get a few devotees here and there would help us. So somehow we kept it floating. We didn't get much done. Then just to bring it up to date today, well, I mean, we did experiments and everything. And we had tremendous legal problems with our land. Tremendous. Cost lakhs and years. But it's all straightened out now. Everything is totally pucka. 100% pucka. Even Abhiram deserted me for some years, and now he's back again because of that Cambodia stuff. He deserted, but then he realized, and he came back. So to bring it down to the culmination on that one. So we struggled. We made some advancement. It was like 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. And had a lot to do with, Madhu Pandit's moral support and other support that I even kept going on for the last 10 years, okay? Then, a little over a year and a half ago, I appealed to the Hare Krishna mission. Why don't you take this project? I'm an old man. I'm 70 years old now. My family helped me a lot, but now they're not interested in it because it's just not their life, right? Why don't you take this project? And meanwhile, we discovered it's Vaikuntha Dham in this world. By the Puranas, the Shringa Purana, Skanda Purana say it. It's the exact place where Lord Rishabhadev left his body, whose whole Yadayahi Dharma Shah was to reintroduce Varnashram as a system for the world with his 100 sons. And this is where he left his body. And it's an amazing piece of land. And there's a lot of rain, but what do you expect with all the waterfalls and the rivers and everything, right? And it's a piece of land that no one will ever even dream of getting such a big piece of land in the middle of a national wildlife reserve again in this life forest. And they tried through Kasturi Ranjan and others, they tried to throw us out, but we were too set. We got a lot of aid. There was no roads in there. There was no buildings. There was no electricity. There was no phone. There was no internet. Half the fields were not even rice paddies. They were just overgrown things. Now it's all, there's 50 acres of gravity flow rice paddies there. There's Wi-Fi's, there's electricity, there's roads, there's legalities. Everything is in place, okay? And its spiritual significance is unbelievable of that place. Still rains. It didn't stop raining, right? And still sometimes the leeches come out in the rainy season, right?
You started off saying that Parshuram sent us off to the Greek, and the same Parshuram has blessed you to be in the Parshuram place.
Parshuram Kshetram is actually below. This is the Sayadris. And below in Parshuram Kshetram, we have another farm that came to me. Anyways, that's Varahavan, it's called. So we negotiated and we talked and everything. And of course, Hare Krishna Mission said that place is so remote. we have so many big projects and everything going on, you know. How can we take such a responsibility on, right? Plus some of the trustees there we may not get along with, you know, all these different things. So finally they agreed, and these trustees are resigning.
Mhm.
And they're doing it. So that is actually, the legal process is completed
Completed.
with the register of societies, with the transfer of papers and so many things, affiliation agreements and stuff like that.
So these will be taken over by Hare Krishna movement.
I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen now. What's happened is it's a well-known fact now to everybody that I've replaced all our trustees with who we have. We have Chanchalapati Prabhu, we have Jai Chaitanya Prabhu, we have Madhu Pandit Prabhu, we have Vasudev Keshav Prabhu, we have Satchagor Prabhu.
Mhm.
These are top men in the Hare Krishna mission. I feel so honored, and they're trustees now.
Mhm.
They run this. We haven't really started any of the mechanism yet, right? And but in the process, even some of my old friends, even their Ritviks,
Mhm.
they not really want to be a part of the Hare Krishna mission, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people like that. And I brought in the Gurukula people from this Das Gadadhar, who's a renegade from ISKCON, and we're having some success with Gurukula too. But now I don't know. I lost a lot of support base, and this is recent. So now where it goes from here, I'm not really sure, but I have complete faith that we made the right decision, and that's completely okay. There's still another farm. I don't know how that's going to work out. That farm doesn't even, Kuda Chaudhary had a purpose all along. We knew what we were there for, and then it unfolded itself as the spiritual significance that it has, and somehow Krishna's kept it going for 30 years almost, over 25, almost 30 years. And I mean, it's not the opulence of a city, but it is something that's established, you know? Hardly no devotees live there still to this point, right? So where it goes from now, we'll have to see. But I have great faith that if anybody can do this project, and its importance to Prabhupada, you know, when he told us to find lands and be self-sufficient, you know what the words Prabhupada used? Sit down in the lap of material nature and depend on Krishna. So these were the Prabhupada's own words on this. He didn't talk so much about self. He said, we're dependent on Krishna. We're not self-sufficient. So this place with its natural resources, with its spiritual significance, with its isolation it's a nuclear-free zone too. All these things, and it being there now for 30 years from nothing but a few sticks and stones, without you had to use a machete to cut your way into the land. Somehow Krishna might have a plan. We're just instruments, you know. And I see the beautiful opulence of all the temples that are coming up, and I realize how we're so far behind, where we got nothing together, so rustic, it's so austere. But what do? It's
Once this
when you get to this age, Prabhu, two things you'll find out, among other things. One is that you have no more options. You got to sleep in the bed you made for yourself this life, and and if you have any responsibilities, you got to keep maintaining them, even if it doesn't look so good for you. You know, your options have run out. The other thing is that everything seems like yesterday. Oh, you mean that was 20 years ago we're talking about? And they shape your future and your thought waves, and you know, your equilibrium, and everything goes in a balance with what you've experienced in your life, and everything seems like yesterday. And we find out devotees, if they don't have, at least, okay, maybe I have a big burden, and maybe I have a burden of love, and maybe this maintenance monster, and I'm not even sure day to day what my service is. Half the time I said, I'm not even sure what I'm doing. But the fact is that I have a service. and this whole institutionalization with these giant establishments and everything, that's necessary for building, in India especially, for building up Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan army that's going to conquer this world. But that's also has its time and its place. And nobody's interested in the farming communities. Okay, we get farms, but they're nowhere near. We grow food, we bring some cows, how much we have to, I can't even imagine how much we have to spend to maintain these cows every month, They're so beautiful. I mean, wonderful. I've never seen such beautiful cows, But what do we have to do every month to maintain that, right? And so we have some cows. Most of them are born there. You have to adapt them to that environment, but we use them. We plow the land with them. They're part of our life, It's not like a professional goshala. So this is a completely different idea than we've done in most everywhere.
And you're confident that Hare Krishna movement, these
100% confident, 100%.
For what those audience who are watching this, you've been loyal to Prabhupada, you've been serving in your own rebellious way or whatever way to serve Prabhupada, what he wanted to. Would you like to say something about Ritvik, how it is genuine, how it is the thing which Prabhupada actually wanted to, in your own words, based on your experience when you met Prabhupada and the 77 and the 80s and the 90s turmoil, and when now it is vocally available on the internet about the Hare Krishna movement, following ISKCON Bangalore's way of worshipping Srila Prabhupada as a sole Diksha Guru and he being our only spiritual master.
Well, I don't think it's accurate to say I'm loyal to Prabhupada. I'm not loyal to Prabhupada. We're loyal to Prabhupada, as myself I'm speaking, to the degree that it benefits us, right? But that loyalty is also real and it's intact, okay? There's nothing else in a devotee's life that is dedicated to Prabhupada. He may be even sinful, may have made mistakes, he may have slipped on the road, but that loyalty to Prabhupada can't be checked. If you check your loyalty to Prabhupada, it becomes an aparad, not a sin. A sin, one pure nam can wipe out more sins than we can commit in a million lives, right? But once you enter into aparad or enviousness of Guru and Krishna, so that loyalty, that is a real thing. That is what keeps us going. Janmi Janmi Hoye Abhilas. He's our Guru birth after birth. So that's what Ritvik does. It establishes Prabhupada as our Guru birth after birth. When Prabhupada was asked about this himself, he said that, first off, he told, I have millions of disciples. When he's in his book, there's only 5,000. He said, I have millions of disciples. And he said, Prabhupada gave us a promise on 3 different occasions that I know that is recorded. Prabhupada told us that I will deliver all my disciples back to Godhead. And I will stay in this universe, not even any other universe. I will stay in this universe until that happens. So that's a 10,000-year golden age, And one devotee even asked Prabhupada, this is Chayavana. He said, well, Prabhupada, what if you leave before we do? How will we find you in this big universe, right? Where are you going? What are you doing?
That's an interesting question.
Prabhupada said, after this, I'm going to Patala Loka to preach.
Hari Bol.
He says, you can find me there. And I thought about that. I thought, well, how wonderful that is. Because I know that's where I'm heading. I'm heading toward Patala. So Prabhupada's there. Janmi Janmi Hoya Vilas. And to show you the contrast, Jayapataka Maharaj just put out an oath, a letter, that all his disciples have to sign before he will give them initiation. You know what that letter says? It says that I vow and I accept that Jayapataka Maharaj is my Siksha and my Diksha Guru birth after birth. And if I want to have any service or any relationship to Prabhupada, it has to be through Jayapataka Maharaj's service to Prabhupada. Is that loyal? So beside a July 9th letter, which is very powerful, beside a May 28th conversation, there are so many other things Prabhupada said and did. Ritvik started back in 1972. It's not something that started, when the Ritviks figured it out in 1980, 82, 83. Started way back in Prabhupada started it himself. All these things about tradition and all. There's arguments for it all, but they won't accept any of them. So this has nothing to do with blind following or how do you feel or how do you think. Prabhupada had already set it up totally. It's already there. And it is in tradition also in many different ways. There's a whole another essay on that. There's a tradition in the Madhvas. It's a tradition among the Ramanujas.
The Ritviks.
Ritvik is there. They don't use the word Ritvik. What they've taken the word Ritvik and they made it a dirty word. And they just, everything else, just like, I excuse my French. In the past, when we were kids, if we used the word fuck, man, you'd wash out our mouth with soap, right? But nowadays, it's an accepted thing all over society. It can mean 100 different things, So they've taken Ritvik, which is a bona fide from the Shastra, emanated from the lips of Srila Prabhupada himself. Yes, Ritvik. And they've turned it into a dirty word. That's how they've done it. But they've exposed themselves. It's so pure. It's so plain, so apparent now that system, their whole system is falling apart in every way. And it didn't take long. The zonal acharya system, which it started with, and even this May 28th conversation. What's come out now is the GBC handwritten script. You've seen that. I sent that out to people that says what are the resolutions, and they don't even rhyme with what was discussed in the May 28th conversation. There used to be a book. It came out in the 1920s or 30s. It was endorsed by Henry Ford. It was called None Dare Call It a Conspiracy. It told how the Americans, there's no such thing as an American. There's no American dollar. They don't exist, okay? It's all the New World Order. America doesn't have a currency, okay? Federal Reserve. Federal, don't let the word fool you. It's not American. America borrows money from Federal Reserve. So there's a book called None Dare Call It a Conspiracy. It shows how the New World Order, America, formed communism as a counter, just like they're doing now with Islam. They're funding it. They're propagating it. They're cultivating the Islamic leaders in different ways and different things to create unrest in this world so they can have a revolution, right? And this None Dare Call It a Conspiracy, this book from 1930 was banned. You couldn't get it in a bookstore anyway. But when we were young, in our teens, you could get it in a Xerox copy in a white cover, everything, and it would tell you all the names of places, just like Mahatma Gandhi's, Nathuram Godse's treatise to his defense to the court, why I killed
Mahatma Gandhi.
All the details, all the names. So this is all listed in this book, None Dare Call Conspiracy. And because of the mushroom philosophy, which the GBC have, you know what mushroom philosophy is, right?
No.
This is the GBC's philosophy, okay? What is a mushroom? It grows in the dark. And what does it grow in? It grows in poop, right? So the GBC philosophy is keep them in the dark and feed them a lot of shit. That's the GBC philosophy, okay? But now some of their own people are even coming against them and against their gurus, and they're digging out, just like they dug out the July 9th letter way back in the early 80s, and they're digging out all this stuff. So I said they just dug out this handwritten notes of what happened in the May 28th conversation. It's completely different from what the GBC resolved and put in their book, All these things. So it's definitely being proven that it's a conspiracy. And like I said, it's not even only the July 9th letter or the May 28th. There are so many things from Srila Prabhupada. He was asked, he was asked 3 times that I know of, that I've seen in printing, who's going to be your successor? He was directly asked, who will be your successor? Huh? And what did Prabhupada say? 2 occasions he said, only Lord Chaitanya can take this movement. And another side he said, what success? It's already a success. And I told you the story of them stopping Prabhupada's disciples from coming to Vrindavan to speak to Srila Prabhupada. And our first question to you is what? That's on everybody's mind. And you think if there was any other answer, Prabhupada wouldn't have written it and wouldn't have wrote it and wouldn't have said it? Before, if you used to mention these things, you were thrown out of the society. But now we've already all been thrown out anyways. So everybody's mentioning. So there's no question of, the validity of Ritvik. Rather than ask for the validity of Ritvik, right? Can we ask for the validity of the Guruvadi system? That's a better question. Where's the appointment? Where's the authorization? Where's the historical reference? You can't say Ritvik has no historical reference because a society, our whole Vaishnav, Gaudiya Vaishnav movement doesn't have a precedent of a society, an international society formed by the world Acharya, the pure devotee who was sent to this planet by Lord Chaitanya. They don't have such an instance. Narottam Das Thakur and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they're 100 years apart. Where's the historical authority? The Diksha. We call Diksha. Diksha means Divya Gyan. Prabhupada called it Harinam Diksha. The lips, the mantras we receive from the lips of a pure devotee. Okay? So if you're not giving it authorized from, where's the mantra? With this thing we call Diksha, Harinam Diksha, who started it? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Where was his tradition? In the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Every Ramanuja gets the name Ramanuja Das. Every one of them. Madhvas, you can interpret, they say both ways. That Madhvas are guru and that they're sannyasis now are their guru. You can interpret it both ways. And the chief Madhva, even Pejwar Swami has interpreted it both ways. I was right there when Madhu Pandit couldn't come to meet Pejwar Swami on one occasion. And he was supposed to meet him. And I was there with Basu Ghosh. Basu Ghosh, you ask him a question. He's a brilliant man. He's got very many wonderful qualities. He's really anti-Ritvik, okay? But Basu Ghosh, you ask him a question or you say anything, he'll give you the translation, he'll give you the word-for-word transliteration, he'll give you the purport in 3 different languages, okay? That's Basu Ghosh, okay? And so he started talking in Sanskrit to Pejwar Swami. And I came to tell Pejwar Swami that Madhu Pandit Prabhu apologizes, he can't be here, this came up, this can't be that. He was going to meet you today. And Basu Ghosh is going on in Sanskrit and he's condemning the Ritvik thing. And he's telling Pejwar Swami, I have Pejwar Jr. and the man next to him telling me exactly what Basu Ghosh is saying, right? It's coming in this year. And he says to Pejwar Swami, even you said that your Ritvik is wrong, it's this and that. Then finally, you know how Pejwar Swami answered?
Please, bro.
He said, the highest principle, he says, is spreading the mission of your Guru Maharaj. He says, and no one but Prabhupada has done such a job. He told Basu Ghosh, why don't you stop arguing about this? Why don't you unite with? And he said to him, what is the problem of Prabhupada being the guru? He said, he is the guru. What is the problem?
Jai.
That's how he answered him. And the last time that I know of that they spoke together before Pejwar left. And I narrated that to Basu Ghosh. Oh, no, you misunderstood what we were talking about. I said, I didn't misunderstand it at all. So,
Prabhupada is available for all the generations. to come
100%.
together.
One devotee said to me today, here,
Mm.
he said, Prabhu, we're so appreciative that we can come to Prabhupada through. I said, why? You can go to Prabhupada direct. He says, you don't go to Prabhupada through me. You go to Prabhupada direct. He's available. Where is this not available? Huh? I said, he's totally available. It's a fact. And the solution, this is only my own saying, and it comes from the old days of our life and our early life, and it's stuck with us to now. That we're out preaching, and that we're unstoppable, as Madhu quoted this morning. This is all the facts. But you know what the solution is? And it's coming. Revolution's the only solution. Revolution's the only solution.
And that revolution will happen.
That will happen. It's already happening internally in ISKCON. ISKCON will come back to Prabhupada. The entire ISKCON will come back. It'll come back. There's going to be a lot of chaos before then. Like when Jayapataka leaves, there's going to be big chaos. There's going to be huge chaos. But after it's called a phoenix.
It'll fly again.
It all flies up again.
Fly again.
But revolution is the only solution. They will never understand. They will never change.
They will never understand. They'll never change. But revolution will change.
ISKCON, as we see it today, Prabhupada did say there might be a time when ISKCON would cease to be. It's not going to be in our life. It's there, okay? It's a force. And it has many good aspects to it. There are some wonderful devotees in that ISKCON, beautiful devotees. I'm sure you know some of them. There's some wonderful, and there's the villains too. There's a force that is in there to destroy this movement. And then there's the innocent that don't know. They're just blind followers. So it's a big mixture. We can't just make a generalization. ISKCON is like this, right? But it's becoming more and more apparent as the guard keeps changing. Now the old stalwarts, who are they? Except for Jayapataka, they've all resigned from the GBC. Radhanath's out of the GBC, Shivaram's out of the GBC, Naranjan Swami Sikha's anything out of the GBC. They're all out of the GBC and they're all being exposed. And especially in India, it's still strong because of the Guru tradition. You can't take away the Guru tradition in India. You can't do it. Even your Sai Babas and your Mama, this one's and that one, man, they stick with them no matter what they did or what they said, because it's the Guru tradition. It's ingrained from birth. It's ingrained from generations in the being. So just to give the Prabhupada, that's also part of the solution. But the thing to bring it all back together, revolution is the only solution. And that revolution is going to be sparked by the World War III, which we're already in. We're in World War III. And I'll tell you, most all people believe it, including heads of states, historians, devotees, ISKCON devotees, Ritvik devotees. We're in World War III. How long it goes? What do we have? We could have a month, we could have a year, we could have 5 years. But it's happening. And it's going on. And then there will be we're going to have to group together. Otherwise, we will all perish. What was the prediction of the Shastra? That all the 4 Sampradayas will have to come together before the end. And we have a golden age we're coming into. So if the Nimbarkas and the Ramanujas and the Madhvas can come together, why can't the 2 ISKCONs come together? Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON and Maya ISKCON, we call it, right? Or WISKCON.
WISKCON.
Was ISKCON. That's what the W means in front of WISKCON. Was ISKCON. I said that to a staunch ISKCON devotee, who's old devotee. His name is Madhavadas. Came to visit me on the farm for a week. And he says, that's offensive, WISKCON. WISKCON, that's offensive. I said, how's it offensive? It was ISKCON. It's not ISKCON anymore. I said, the books have changed. The directive of management has changed. You know what's far out about this directive of management? They're now proving how that was on the agenda by the notes, by the handwritten notes. That was on the agenda for governing ISKCON after Prabhupada left. And that's why he tried to install it 3 times. But they didn't like the part about GBCs getting elected, that they can stay in for life, right? So they eliminated the DOM from the last talks with Prabhupada. When it was in there, handwritten too. And some tape where Prabhupada says that we have to discuss it.
They wanted the GBC to be elected once in 2 years or
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years.
And some would remain and different things. So directive of management was also part of it. But now they made all these divisional councils and this minister and that minister and this. And what did Prabhupada say about all that? Resolution, no solution. That's what we mean by being rebels, Prabhu.
It was pleasure talking to you,
Thank
Prabhu. It was enlightening and
All glory
enlightening
to Prabhupada.
simultaneously. Thank you for your time and
I hope I didn't make any offense or say anything wrong.
yes.
All glory to Prabhupada.